Backyard Bullion here, and welcome to part 3 of my beginner's guide to investing in gold and silver. So before we get started, just a quick reminder and disclaimer: I am not a financial expert, nor am I a investment guru, so this is just my own thoughts and opinions on the subject of buying gold and silver. So please remember, any financial decisions that you make having watched these videos are yours and yours alone. I can't be held responsible for those. So with that out of the way, just a couple of reminders. So part 1 and 2 we're looking at kind of the preparatory work that you can do for buying gold and silver. So looking at all of the reasons why you might be stacking, what you might be stacking, where you might be buying it, and all of those things, just so you get a really good idea of what you're going to get yourself into. So if you haven't checked those out yet, please do go have a look. The links are in the description below, but you can also check them out in the playlist here as well. So today's episode, I want to focus a little bit actually on the fun part, and that's the actual buying process of actually buying it for the first time, and what you're going to be looking at. So finding the best prices, actually physically paying for the goods, there's good tips to be learnt there, and also taking delivery of the coins. And then I'm going to touch a little bit on testing your coins as you get them as well. So without further ado, let's jump into my first point. So we've got to the point where you want to actually go and buy the gold and silver for the first time, and that's a very, very cool place to be. You've hopefully done all your homework beforehand. You've made sure you know what you want to be buying and possibly where you want to be buying it to, but make sure you check out multiple dealers, have a look and find what the best price is, because ultimately this is a best price per ounce type game. You want to make sure that you are getting the best price for your goods. A lot of the prices that bullion dealers will place on their websites, most often it's the best price available if you were to buy like 1,000 of something. So make sure you know exactly what the costs are there. Check if there's any hidden costs as well. There's no harm in going through to a kind of basket check where you can see what the postage costs, what any sales tax might be, VAT, delivery, all those types of things. So make sure that you've got all of that together and you know what the total price is going to be. That's a pretty important thing to do. Check with the dealers. It's worth ringing them up and finding out what kind of delivery service they use, who they use. It's all those types of questions that you should be thinking about from them. Once you've all got that ready and you're ready to go, that's when we move on to our next point. So actually paying for the goods itself. Now this is an area where you can actually save some money potentially. It's worth having a look, and hopefully in the last point you've checked out these dealers and you've worked out that some of them might charge a little bit more for having credit card or debit card payments. Sometimes it could be 2, 3, 4% depending on what it is, where it is. So a bank's transfer might be the way to go. So that's going to be worthwhile looking at. However, if they are without charge for paying by credit, debit cards, then it's worth checking out if you've got a credit or debit card that gives you cash back on your purchases. Because if you get 1% cash back, that's all really good. That helps take your margins down, takes your price per ounce down. Obviously, if you're buying with a credit card, you should make sure that you clear that balance straight away, so that you're not actually borrowing money to buy silver and gold. I wouldn't recommend that. Always make sure that you're as debt free as possible. But certainly it's worth doing. You can get some good discounts and cash back from very big credit card dealers, even if that's with like here in the UK, even if it's with sort of a Sainsbury's credit card, and you get Nectar points, which are essentially cash back in the long run. So it's always worth checking. But often you get free kind of fees from these bullion dealers through money transfer, through a bank's transfer. Now, if you're in the UK and you've decided to go and buy stuff abroad through goldsilver.b or silver2go or one of these European countries, often it will be cheaper to do a bank's transfer. So then you need to look and think about things like what your bank might charge for having an international bank's transfer. A lot of the time the exchange rate is not going to be that great. It's also going to have potentially some hidden charges in there. So it's well worth checking out websites like TransferWise, TransferGo. These are all international money senders. I nearly said money launderers there. They're not money launderers, trust me. They're money senders, so they can actually transfer your funds, and it will be the better exchange rate that you might get from the bank, and the charges are also really, really low. The two I mentioned there, TransferWise and TransferGo, are great. There's other things like Western Union as well that you should think about and look at as well. Also, you should look on, before you go and do those, you should check out topcashback.co.uk if you're in the UK, because those particular money transfer sites have cashback offers for the first time that you use it, and often it can be like 13, 14 quid, which, you know, that's basically a free ounce of silver. So it's definitely worth having a look around to get the best deals for what you want to buy. So that's about it. Once you've made the decision of how you're going to pay and actually pay, then go ahead and do it, and try not to, you know, worry too much about daily fluctuations of silver prices and money exchange rates as well. You know, ultimately it's going to be what it is, and you're going to pay for it. And once you've pulled the trigger with the actual bullion dealer, it should be job done, and off you go and pay. So once we've done payment, the next thing to talk about is delivery. So my best advice for delivery, I think, would be always try and arrange, for when you're buying something, arrange for potentially to be in when it's going to be delivered. That would be my best bet. I know that's not always possible. It's not very easy to sort of get an exact date and time from these companies as to when it might actually be delivered. But where possible, I would suggest you actually go and get that date in your diary. Maybe you can work from home, or maybe you can be off that day if you know exactly when it's going to be coming. And the reason for this is because I think it's really important to make sure that you check the parcel when you actually get it, you know, at the door. It's very important to check whether that's been tampered with. Obviously, if you've got a courier service that they're using and they leave it with a neighbour or something, you know, the neighbour's not going to know if it's got a big hole in the side that they shouldn't take the delivery. So it's really important to do that. Also, you don't necessarily want a big order of gold and silver being delivered to a neighbour. It's not so much a problem if it's through like Royal Mail Special Delivery, because it will be going back to the post office and you'll be having, obviously you can go and pick it up at another time, but it is something to think about. You know, maybe try and arrange to be in at the time, certainly if you're buying from someone that's not going to use special delivery. Then as well, when you actually get the parcel, as long as it's all alright and you've accepted delivery, which is great, you then want to make sure that basically everything inside is all good. So it could be that somebody's had a tamper with the parcel and they've gone through it and had a look and taken what they want. So just make sure everything's okay inside, and if there are any problems with it that you can see, you need to contact the seller immediately and try and get those resolved. You know, bullion dealers, proper reputable dealing websites, they'll be more than happy to accommodate most of the time if there's any major issues. And then once you've made sure that everything's actually inside the parcel that should be there, you know, you want to go through everything and actually check the coins themselves. You know, when they come through, if you're buying sort of big coins like this one, which is the 5 ounce coin here, you want to make sure it's all pristine and nice, because it's coming on its own like this. You know, it's just really important to make sure that they're all nice and pristine condition as best as possible. And if there are any issues, if there's a coin that's got a big kind of gouge or scratch in it, or if you've noticed that it's got a huge milk spot and you wanted it to be pristine, you know, if you bought it from a reputable dealer, or if you bought it directly from like the Royal Mint or the Perth Mint or wherever it may be, often you'd be able to contact them and get it sent back and have a replacement come out. So that's really important. You know, quality is very important, because if you remember from the last episode we talked about the word premium. You know, a lot of the time premium is based on the kind of condition that the coin is in. So it's important to make sure that everything is okay. And you know, if there are any issues, then you know, talking with the dealer, talking with the seller, often can get you some good sort of returns and replacements as needed. So then that takes us on to the last point I want to make. So the last thing I just want to talk about is testing your items. Now, when you get a big bunch of bullion like this and it's just come in a big old roll, you can see I've been handling these just as is and playing with them, and I get these out and have a play with every now and again and just use. And if you look closely at these particular coins, they are not in the best of condition. No, that's probably partly my fault, because I haven't been, you know, keeping them in a pristine condition. I've been handling them and stuff. But these are specifically made to be basically bullion coins for me. They're just bought at a certain weight. They came in a roll, you know, and I know what price they are, and then eventually I'll sell them when they are worth more. Or these will probably end up going into the backyard bullion melting pots at some point. So I'm not really worried about these, you know, in terms of their condition. So these are prime candidates for having sort of testing done on them. don't be afraid to get out these types of coins and rolls and actually have a look at them. Weigh them. If you've got some scales, that's the best thing. I would suggest you go look for some scales down to 200th of a gram, 100th of a gram, so you get a reading of 31.10. That's roughly what you're wanting to look at. So make sure that you weigh these types of coins if you can. If they're out of the capsules, they're there. You can do things like little magnet tests. So this is a really, really valuable little thing, a tiny little neodymium magnet, and hopefully you can see here that it rolls down the coin nice and slowly. So that's what you're aiming for, really. Really nice, slow roll down the coin, and you can see quite quickly if ones are fake or not. Also, potentially think about going and buying some actual fake coins. I know that sounds really weird, but they're so common and easy to find on eBay. You can buy silver-plated ones or fake ones or whatever it might be, and then you'll be able to actually test yourself and see the difference between them. I did that, and I bought some fake pandas, and they're really obvious that they're fakes, and once you get to see some real silver for the first time, you'll know. But this little magnet's a godsend. You can really tell quite quickly whether something is sort of majority silver or not. Gold, a little bit more difficult. You need to kind of perhaps have things like specific gravity tests, because as you can see, the magnet is not going to react the same way as it does with silver. It just comes off nice and quickly. So you need to have maybe acid tests in mind, but again, that's going to be damaging the actual item, so that's something maybe to think about. For gold, I think it's done by experience. You need to know your stuff really when you're buying gold. I would suggest you buy gold from an experienced dealer, a reputable dealer. That way you're probably going to get your best thing. And also with gold, pretty much the best way of measuring it and testing it is by its weight and it's by its dimensions. So make sure you know what the weight and dimensions should be. Weigh them. The diameter is always a real key indicator whether something's fake or not. Big lumps of silver like this, you can do specific gravity tests on. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this video, but I have got videos showing how that's done, so I'll put links in the description to those. But a specific gravity test is really the best way of actually testing a piece of metal to find out what kind of purity and grade it really is. So yeah, don't be afraid to test your coins. If there's any that you find that are not real or the suspects, then obviously contact the dealer as soon as possible. As I said, with gold, a little bit more difficult. You just need to really think about getting those weights and measures done properly. So yeah, now there's one thing I haven't talked about in this whole video, and that's eBay. Testing is essential if you're going to be buying off eBay. I'm not going to talk at length about eBay in this video because it's already long enough, but that will be for another time. But if you're going to buy from eBay, you have to learn how to test, period. There's just no way that you can get away with it. So that's about it for today's episode. Next week we're going to be talking about storage and security. We're going to talk about record keeping and how you actually keep on top of what you've bought and how you know what it's worth and what you've paid for it and all those types of things. And we're also going to talk about a really important topic, which is actually enjoying the coins and the things that you buy, because I think without that this can become quite a different hobby, let's say. So that's a really important thing. Just a reminder, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and share it around on social media. That would be very helpful indeed. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little alarm bell, and you'll get notifications when all of my videos come out. If you haven't checked out the previous ones in this series, then please do go have a look. Part 1 and Part 2, the links are in the description below, but they're also in this playlist. And don't remember to go and check out my website, backyardbullion.com. You can see all of my available hand-poured silver and various coins which I have for sale. Otherwise, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for watching, and please make sure that you like, share, comment and subscribe for more.